So yeah, growing up in that kind of environment really kind of spurred me into that area of law. I know that there's kind of that stigma that family law, for one, isn't really the highest paying job, but it's also not very rewarding because really there are no winners. It's a lot of divorces and a lot of child custody disputes. So at the end of the day, it's kind of a sad field to be in. But I've always been kind of drawn to that area.
So you're excited to get married?
I'm so excited to get married.
Yes, please tell us about your personal life.
Oh, yes, my personal life. I am currently engaged. I've been engaged for 2 years. School and life gets in the way for marriage and money and trying to make money to spend lavishly on a wedding that you cannot afford. But that is a completely different topic. Other than that, let's see, I've been with my fiance for coming up to 8 years now, and then we were getting married this September, so you might be able to hear about that come that date in the podcast. But other than that, she's an adolescent mental health nurse, so she kind of fills into my child adolescent mental health kind of area of law, maybe where health and the law mix. That's kind of an interesting topic for me. Otherwise, in my spare time, I love to play music. I play the guitar, piano, bass, and I love to sing karaoke. And other than that, all of my time is spent with law school, so I don't really ever get to indulge in any of those passions once school starts.
What's your karaoke song you go to?
My karaoke song go-to is Sister Golden Hair by America.
Nice.
I know,
Good.
It's an old song, but it's easy to sing and people dig it.
So our producer Nick was actually standing at applause for that. He definitely approves.
I'm definitely an older music kind of person, and I guess, granted, what kind of audience we're going to have, that would be 60s, 70s, 80s kind of area. I'm very open to music. I like all different types of genres, so, and hopefully you guys will all be able to hear those kind of different genres when we move forward with our podcast.
Thanks. Speaking of old, my name is Mitchell. I like I said earlier, I'm going to be a 1L at the University of St. Thomas School of Law. I'm the elder in this group. I'm 30 something, and I've actually spent I actually have 10 years of experience in capitalism, which is Hannah's favorite.
Okay, come on, you got more than 10 years. We all have a lot more than 10 years of experience with capitalism.
That starts when you're born.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from St. Cloud, Minnesota. So I grew up right here in central Minnesota, and I went to did my undergrad at St. Cloud State University. I got degrees in economics and in marketing. When I graduated from there, I actually started my career in Rochester, working at IBM as a financial analyst.
Rochester.
There you go.
There you go.
And so I've spent 10 years in corporate finance and a couple years in management consulting as well. I got my MBA in corporate finance from the University of Notre Dame. Go Irish, right? And so I spent a little bit of time in Indiana, and
Notre Dame's in Indiana.
Yeah,
I didn't know
South Bend, Indiana. A lot of people don't know that.
Why did I think it was North Carolina?
I don't know.
Oh,
like
wait, I'm mixing it up with Duke, aren't I?
Yeah, that's Duke.
My geography's terrible.
Yeah, a lot of people. I think my father-in-law thought it was in California when he first heard I was going to there.
Do you have steak shacks there?
Yes, we do. South Bend does have a steak shack. Yeah,
isn't it like
it's delicious?
$2.99 for a meal.
Maybe a really small meal. Like a really small.
Carry on anyway. Do you have your grave plot picked out yet?
Yes, it's in St. Cloud, right next to all my family lineage. So I currently work for a large healthcare organization working in mergers and acquisitions. So I work to integrate acquired companies into the business, and so that's currently what I do now. And I'm going to be going to St. Thomas part-time, and so it will be a mix of full-time at where I currently work and part-time at St. Thomas. So should be good.
What's your actual job title? Does it have
So
synergy in it?
Oh God, I could tell you everything about synergies.
Oh.
So my
Different episodes.
so my
Decline.
so I'm an integrations manager
Wow.
at my current role. Yeah, it sounds pretty pretty swanky, doesn't it?
Pretty intense.
Yeah, well, if they put synergy in there, they'd probably have to up his pay grade, so...
Yeah, I work on I actually track synergies.
That'll put you into a tax
You have a
bracket.
companies that we
synergy
acquire.
tracker?
I do have
Is
a
there an
synergy
app?
tracker. It's not an app, it's an Excel.
God.
Yeah. We could do a whole podcast on Microsoft Excel, I'm telling you.
No, we will not be doing that. Do not turn off yet. Please. It's... we won't be that boring.
Let's see. Other interests I have. I'm actually married to my beautiful wife, Katie. We have a beautiful little girl. She is 2 years old, and she takes over my life as opposed to law school and my work. She basically takes up all my time and money, and so yeah. And I also have a dog as well. He's a little mutt as well. So
Mine's a bigger mutt. Mine could probably beat yours up.
probably,
But she wouldn't, because she's nice, but she could.
probably, yeah.
Just
Mine's kind of cowardly, so but he has so much energy though. So if you ever want to have him or anything, you can go ahead.
We could just get all the dogs
yeah.
together. I mean, mine's a purebred, so that probably will trump all of yours. I have a corgi.
Purebreds suck. No, I mean the dogs are fine. But if you want me to go on a rant right now about breeding practice and culture, we can put a pin in that. But
We'll save that
fuck
for a rainy
the whole
day.
thing.
Yeah, animal law.
There
is a whole
also,
animal
yeah,
law.
Like
animal
animal
law.
husbandry is a big deal.
Yeah, and a lot of it's real fucked up, especially breeders. French bulldogs can't even be naturally born because of how fucked they've been by genetic selection.
Well, rest assured, I did not get it from a breeder. I got it secondhand. I got a used 2000, 15 corgi. So
Used ones are good.
yeah, minimal miles on it. So.
All right.
Yeah.
On that, thanks everybody for sharing your stories. Next, we'll discuss more about law school.
Do we have to? No. Animorphs. We're going to talk about Animorphs. Don't switch the channel.
Welcome back to the Cold Call Lawcast. Next thing we're going to talk about is law schools, specifically where we applied, why we applied to those schools, and how well we did on all the major items that law schools really look at. Some of us much better than others. So, Hannah, do you want to kick off? So where all did you apply, and what were the outcomes of all your applications?
For the record, I still would like to be talking about Animorphs, but if you insist on this other stuff, I applied to 4 schools, the Minnesota schools, all 3 of them, and my alma mater, University of Arizona. Thought about some other places, didn't do it, and what you want? You actually want scores and stuff?
Well, how well? I would like you to reveal if you would.
This is.
Did you get accepted in all the schools though? That's a question.
I did. I did get accepted into all the schools.
And then what made you finally decide? Yeah, U of M. That's the ticket.
Why? I asked my friend. Then they were like, "Yeah, you just go to that one."
Okay. So this was a really complex decision for you.
My friend's parents were both lawyers, and their sister was in school for lawyering, and I didn't know anything about the field, and they were like, "Yeah, you should just go to U of M. That's the best one." And
so rankings did have a part in it, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And
for the people that were made your decision for you.
Yeah. Well, and I almost went back to Arizona. I came very, very close, actually. That was the toughest decision, because I knew like I would go to the U if I stayed in town, but I almost went back to Tucson.
Did scholarship offers play a role in your decision?
Yeah. Well, I got very generous offers from everybody, and it played a role, but it didn't make the decision any easier, really.
Okay.
And then Abby, you're at the University of Minnesota as well.
Yes.
Were you like, hey, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump from my undergrad to the law school?
Yeah.
Or where all did, because I've heard through the grapevine that you applied to a couple places. So.
Oh, I applied to a lot of places.
How many is a lot?
I applied to 12 schools.
Wow.
I always had the University of Minnesota is kind of in the back of my mind as the place I wanted to go, though, so I don't know why I did that. There were a lot of like fee waivers involved, so if it was like free to apply, I applied to a lot of places. And my dad's friend John also had a big say in that. He was like a numbers guy. He's really into, like, he sent me flow charts of all the law schools and like which ones you should like use to lobby the higher ranked ones to give you more money, and I'm like not.
Him and Mitch should get coffee.
Yeah, I know. I was
I'm
just
not
talking about
into
like
that
that's
at all.
exactly
There's no
it's
way.
exactly what I do.
I did not.
Did you say flowchart?
Oh yeah, I do love flow charts typically, but I
really
ready.
dislike making flow charts. It was like the
Oh.
one thing I'm just.
That was like the
oh,
only
please
part I
don't.
liked of math is like proofs of like flow charts. That was like my favorite part. I think that might be okay for law school. I don't know.
It
Might
already
carry
exists.
over.
Why do you need to prove it already exists? There's already been theories and
Yeah.
practice. Don't need to keep
Just
proving
gotta-
things.
Question nothing.
Learn how it works.
Operate on the assumption
No,
that everything you've been told
always-
is true.
Figure out how it works yourself, or with help.
And so we're all. Do you
want
know?
the list?
I like.
I
do you
made a
have the
list.
list of all
Yeah,
the
because I
places
told you
you
11
applied?
originally, but yeah, I figured out it was actually 12. So I applied to the University of Virginia, Duke, University of Wisconsin-Madison, University of Minnesota, Northwestern, Washington University, UCLA, UC Berkeley, NYU, Boston University, University of Chicago, and Michigan. There are a couple of those that I got waitlisted and eventually denied at. Do you want to hear which ones those are?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
we
so
wanna hear
University
all
of
that.
Virginia, waitlisted. NYU, waitlisted and denied, I think, too. University of Chicago, waitlisted, and Michigan, I think, waitlisted. Berkeley, I don't remember. I think I got waitlisted there, too. But I was, like, already decided at that point. That was, like, one of the last ones to come
So which ones did they just accept you outright?
UW-Madison was the first acceptance I got back. And I think it was the first application that I submitted fully
Now,
to.
why would you apply to the University of Wisconsin?
I'm from Wisconsin, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I forgot to say that earlier. So I'm the only one here that's not originally from Minnesota. So I grew up
Very
like
diverse group.
Yeah, I know. So I grew up like 20 minutes north of Madison itself. So I have family there, and it would have been easier to live there, I guess. But yeah.
Were there any of those schools that you were either disappointed that you didn't get into, or anything, or
No,
that
she
you
was
would've-
really happy. She
No,
didn't get
I was.
or that you wouldn't?
No, I feel like
Was there any that like, oh, that's like my absolute favorite? I really
no,
want
because
this
I
one other
really
than Minnesota.
do think Minnesota was my favorite from the start. So I don't know why I put myself through all this, especially
That'll
over
change.
winter break. Like, oh, it'll change.
Yeah.
I think wherever you end up, you'll just hate it.
Well, how much
law
were those
school.
applications? Did you have to pay a fee for all of those?
I had to pay a fee for not all of them. Most of them I did not have to pay a fee.
Because they
So
add up.
They do definitely add up. That's definitely something to consider. Although, if you ask for it, a lot of places will give you a fee waiver, I've heard. Also, if you prove need through like the LSAC thing, then they will also automatically waive your fees usually. So.
Okay.
LSAC is the Law School Admission Council for anyone who is
Oh, yes.
incoming into.
They're
That
on
you have
nerds.
to
They're
pay
on nerds.
them
You
to
probably
take
don't
the
need to
test,
explain.
and then you have to
Anybody
pay
still
them to
listening
study
is a
for
nerd.
the test, the LSAT. I hate them. But,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
capitalism.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
yeah.
can say I hate the Law School Admissions Council on this podcast. Will they come for me?
They might come
Okay.
after you.
Yeah.
They will
If they
come
were
for
funding
your
us, they
money.
would
They
have
will,
already cut for
absolutely.
They're
funding.
like,
They
you've
will
already
come
given
for
us
your
so
money.
much money. And
I
they're
know.
Like,
They will hit you with
Yeah.
fees, and then again.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Anthony, So where all did you apply?
Oh, well, I have always been a man who